class not 7, class 7 8 is already there. 9 you can create. Go tomorrow. React class we can sit in the evening. React class tomorrow we can sit in the evening. You can join online. We'll set up the Redux. Okay. Redux will set up tomorrow, day after tomorrow. Huh? You will go there. You will come by 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. It's Thanasandrai, 17 kilometers from here. Okay, so it's far. Coming and going will become 3, 4 o'clock for you. So from there you can go home and there you can log in. Once you reach home, everyone, then let me know. Okay. After that, we will schedule after 1 hour, 1.5 hour, evening time, anytime. Okay. Here you need not to come. Join online tomorrow. Okay. So write a class, import React comma component from React. Const, not const, should be class. Class name, my class 10, 9, my class 9, 7, 8 we have 9. Extends component. Okay. Next, after that, write a render function return a division class name equal to container next division class name equal to row amplify roll LG12 H2 real base class component lifecycle method. You can check the route. I have not been there. Route, bus route, you can check from internet also. All this file in the app.cs. Export we can do. My class 9. Last 9. In header file, we can give a link. Check now. Page is loading or not. Now, now we started the JSON server.
Yes, sir.
Yes. After that, we will not have page. Add new record. JSON server is empty because of that the reader has come. Open that file. Open that. Add some data.
Yes, sir.
1, 2, 3. ID will not added that last one. See, we added the ID. Last one ID is there. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Go there. Save this file. Save it first. Some file is not saved. I didn't need it on. It was saving no yesterday.
Yes, sir.
Then you want to modify it again. Open this file. Daily Central. Click call anything. This is called class 7. ID add row. It was working earlier. Honestly, you tell me yes.
Yes, sir. Yesterday is working, sir.
Then on save equal to save function. Where is the save function? Computer again. Print to catch. Listing page. Listing page. The problem is in the listing page. Open the listing page. 6, class 6. Get records, record here. Get records. Component did not work in the beginning. Check other page is working.
No page complete.
All page coming. Other page working. Ready. This is also coming. Component number 4 is coming. 6 is the problem. It's not fetching the data. Data is with the fetch problem. See, one file is not saved. Control is this time. 7 also go and save. Click on that not save icon. Left side, left side. This is click save. Run the component 7. Check is it coming? 7, 7. Last one. We have added today 9. Click on that. In 9 edit is right. Go to your app.js file. Where you added the routing. App.js file. Come down. Class 9 you call from the class 8. Go now. That is nothing to run among us. Run now. Render. Go to the code. Render function where is. Render will be like this. Render function. Let's see here. It's come like this. Return in the function symbol. Same. Loading. Go to the 6. We have some error in 6 that we'll find after class. Let's continue with the 7. 9. Okay, so page is loaded. Now write the first function from the life cycle method that is called constructor. Constructor will be your first function. Constructor function required super function. Now, what is that super function? It used to call parent constructor from the parent class. It used to call parent class constructor. It used to call the parent class constructor. Okay, have written. It used to call the now after that, right below next call the render function used to print output in browser. The render function used to print the output in browser. Next, after that, right before a component call, component did mount this function execute after render. This function execute after render. Written. Now let's keep alert everywhere. In all the functions, we'll keep the alert and we'll check what is the sequence of those. Which one is calling first, which one is calling last. Keep alert in all. First, keep alert here. Constructor. Keep alert in this. Constructor is the first. Render will be the second. Render. render is second, component did mount is the third. Check the sequence ones. Which one is first? So in out of three, sequence is clear. Now, what is the use of the constructor? You can write here. Constructor used to create state variables. Next, after that, constructor used to create the state variables. Then component did mount, what it will do? You can write here inside only. It execute at last after render. Execute after render. It used to call API functions or anything after page load. Anything after page load. Anything after page load. Like under the constructor, what we did, under the constructor, suppose we created the variables. After creating the variables, after constructor you saw render was calling. So inside the constructor variable declaration will happen. Render will call, render will print the variable, empty variable will get printed. After that component did mount will call, it will bring the data, give to a state will give to the again render. In render will write here. The render function used to print the output in the browser. It get called automatically after changes in state. It get called automatically. It get called automatically after changes in state. Render function when it will get called? Whenever the changes will happen inside the state. So first step, constructor will call, it will create the variable. Second step, render will come, it will print the empty variable. Third step, component mount will call, it will call the API. After calling the API, it will give the data to state. And once the data will go to the state, again what will happen? Render will call. I will write the step below as a multi-line command. What is re-render? Calling the render function again and increase your volume. In market, once you go for interview and all, you have to speak loudly. Then only people will hear. Else, right answer also will mislead. Okay, little, not much, little. Okay. Re-render meaning is what? Calling the render function again and again. That is called re-rendering. Okay. Let's go here. So the flow, what is happening in the React lifecycle function flow? Number one, constructor will call and create state variables. Number two, render will call and print HTML layout in browser. Print HTML layout in browser. Print the HTML layout in the browser. Second, now third, what will happen is Okay. Third flow is constructor has called. After calling the constructor, what is created? Will create a state variable, render will call and print the basic layout in HTML with empty. Browser it call and print HTML layout in browser with empty array. Empty array means what? 0. Next, after that, component did mount will call and will execute and call the API functions. Call the API functions. Call the API functions. After calling the API function, what it will do? It get data from API and send to get the data from API and send to not send to update to and update or better send only and send to state arrays. Send to state array. It get the data from state and send to state array. It get the data from API and it get data from API and send to state array. Next, after that, as soon as a state array will modify, after that, as soon as a state array will modify, after that, as soon as the state array will modify, after that, the render function will recall. After that, render function will be recall. Re-render, render function will be re-render. Render function will be re-render. That is what? Recall. Render function will be re-render. Render function will be recall. Render function will be re-render in the sense recall, and data will display in browser. So understood a step where, so in step 1 variable was empty or non-empty? In the step 1 variable was empty or not? In the step 1 variable was empty. Step 1, you can see constructor will call and it will create the variables. Constructor will call and it will create the variables. When the constructor call first time, it has created the variable but the variable was empty variable. Variable was not holding any kind of values. Okay, variable was not holding any kind of values. Then render function call, and render function printed the basic layout. After that, component did mount call. Component did mount call, and it's called the API function. API function got the data from the backend and given to it where, after getting the data from API, sent to state array. So that meaning your state got modified. As soon as the state array will modify, after that render function will be re-render. Means the render function will be recall. And again, once it will recall, what will happen? Data will display in the browser. So what was in the first step? In the first step, data was not displaying in the browser. It was an empty page with the heading and all. Once the render function call, then it's a render function called the API, given the data to a state given to render, and render displayed it. Okay, that's the communication of three functions. Okay, next after that, what is the next function? Next function we have component did update. Component did update. What it will do? Write the fourth one. Step number 4. So in the third step, what is happening? What is happening in the third step? In third step, are you getting any data or no data? In third step, are we getting any data? What is happening in the second step? In the second step, data is not there. Only HTML is getting generated under the browser. Empty array. Third step, data came from the backend, given to state. State given to render. Then render is displaying by the page. So ready? Now after that, hmm? Hmm? You have created no yesterday. Here under the constructor we used to write this dot state equal to book list. That is called a state array. New book, that is called a state variable. Message was a state variable. Okay. Internet is very slow. Okay. Next after that, component did update. Component did update. Component did update. What it will do? It execute after it's execute whenever any changes happen in state variable. Whenever any changes happen in state variable. Whenever component did mount, when it will execute, it execute whenever APER, whenever any changes happen in state variable. Whenever any changes happen in a state variable, which one will call? Component did update will call. Component did update will call. Component did update will call. Now, in this example, you have to write one button. So till here, hope you have written. Now, in this example, create a button and create a state variable. Create a button and create a state variable called counter. Create a variable called counter, a state variable, counter equal to 0. And button click, change the value to anything. We have created already one example. We have created class1.js file. So what you need to do, you need to create a component. Already component are ready under the 9. Inside the 9, create a variable called counter under the state. Create a variable called counter under the state. Give default 100. Give default 100. Give default 100. Ready? Create a state variable, give the variable name called counter, and that by default how much? 100. Hope ready? Now create a button. On button click, bring alert. Create a button. On button click, bring alert. Ready? What you have written in a state? How you create the variable? This dot state equal to counter colon 100, right? Semicolon will not come here. Now coming down, we can write a function here. We can write a function, give the function name call. Function 1 equal to okay, function 1 equal to let's again, yeah, correct only inside this dot set state, under that counter colon state dot counter plus 20 something. Next after that create a button here. First for h1 print that counter. This dot state dot counter. This dot state dot counter. This dot state dot counter. Now what is the default value? Default value is 100. Whenever the page will load, those all alerts will come one by one. Okay. Constructor under component. See, default value came how much? 100. See, when your page is reloaded, okay, in this page, what is happening is when you refresh the page, at that time, the first constructor called remember, then render call, third did mount call, okay, then value came, okay. Now we'll have a button. Once you click on button, then what will happen is your constructor will not call. Only who will call? A render will also not call. Render will call. And component did update will call. Okay, let me show you now. Let's go here. Component update we have written. We have not written. Come down. Write a function call. Component did update. Component did update function is called. Inside that alert. Right here call updated. Call updated. Hello. Secretary. Which company? Laminar. Okay. Fresher or experience? Okay. Cool. Salary, how much they are giving? How much? Okay, 7 lakh they are giving. Oh, okay, okay, good. Good. We'll update you for coming batch. Okay, okay, fine, fine. We'll update. Congratulations. Okay, so component did mount we wrote here. Now after that, component did mount will call when? Refresh the page. See the component did mount is calling or not by default. Component did mount is called, but component did update is not calling. Component did update is calling on load. See, component did update is calling on load. Component did update is not calling on load. Check once, refresh your page. Component did update is calling. Component did update. Okay, so pretty. Next, after that, so what you saw when the page is loading, what are the functions are executing? When the page has loaded, which and all of the function execute? First, render, constructor. Second, render. Third, component did mount. Component did update has not called at all, right? When it will get called, let us come. Create a button. Create a button. Click to plus y. Click to plus y 10. Class name equal to btn. btn hyphen primary m4 margin 4. Next on click, call a function call this dot one. This dot one. This dot one. this dot one. Ready? Now let's come and click on button. First constructor, render component did mount. Once you click here, then component did update and render both should call. Screen door page. Component did mount on load only. I click here. See. Render called component did update also called. Again, if I click, render is called component did update called. Sequence you have to remember. When the component did mount is calling on load. When component update will call. When you do the changes in the state variable. So here at this place, what we did? We did some changes under the state variable. So whenever you do the changes under the state variable, render has to call definitely. Along with that, component did mount will, component did update will also get called. Okay, for working. So we understood the sequence of functions. Next, what else functions are there? Let me see once. We have one more function. Component should component update. Should component update. Let's come here. Write one function called should component update. Component update is happening in this Now we'll write a function called should component update. The component should get update or not. SHOU should component update. Come inside, return colon false. Return false. But how that function work? No idea. We can check once. Should component update. Return false we have written. Should component update. Reload your page. Should component update. Once you click here, see nothing is happening. Should component update. False means no. Component should not get update. See here. After clicking on that, function is calling. It's not calling. It's not updating. Change to true and then try. Should component update return true, then save it. Refresh the page once. So ready. Now if we click on that, it should allow to update. So should component update what return? True. If you want component should get updated, then return true. Else return false. Meaningful no. Huh? It is working. In case if you want to control, it should not update. Then we can write should component. In W3 some more functions are there, but those functions are not look like much useful till what I have implemented. Most every time you are going to use render, component did mount, then you can say component did update till max. Even should update also not. You are not going to give the chance those kind of chance where you can write it. So you can see there, and then again we'll sit tomorrow. Tomorrow we'll sit for the after the interviews. Once you come from there, then we'll sit for 1 hour, not 1 hour, 1.5 hour nearly in the evening time to set up the project of Redux. To set up the project of Redux, and then tomorrow we'll see the Redux, and day after tomorrow we'll see maybe 1-2 more classes. 3-4 classes we will understand the Redux. Hmm? Monday, our Sunday class will not finish. Redux will be one class maybe that we can sit in the evening maybe. That we'll discuss tomorrow. Still time is there. Okay, so shall I share the folder again? Folder is sent, you can download it. Save. Tomorrow, by today evening, we will be sending you the address in the group.